So Jesse, you moved 3 different houses this week, didn't you? How did that go? Because that sounds like hell, to be completely honest with you.
It was awful. We moved 3 complete houses in 4 days. So we started on Tuesday and ended, I guess, on Friday, pretty much. Completely done. All the houses, all the furniture, all the clothes, everything that was in the houses completely moved. And we did it with, it was myself. And at any time we had between 1 more to 3 more people. And that's it.
Ugh,
it was
crazy. It was horrible.
It was so much.
You're so buff now, though.
Dude, my back is out. It's done. By the end of it, my back was giving out, like, to the point. I've never had that in my life where my back gave out. I've always heard people say that. Mm-hmm. And then I was literally carrying furniture up the stairs and it just gave out. I was like, I can't, my muscles won't work. They won't pick this stuff up anymore. Because as we talked about in the last podcast, so my sister-in-law lives across the street. She bought a house 7 houses down. So we had to move her from that house across the street, 7 houses down. So we used a trailer for that. Pulled everything out of her house, put it in the trailer, drove it up the street. My neighbor that's directly next door to me moved into her house directly across the street. So we had to walk all of his furniture from that house across the street and then come back, back and forth. Once that house is empty, then I moved directly next door into his house. So we had to walk from my house directly next door to this house, all the furniture, everything. So I went to, my daughter had a cheerleading football game on Thursday night, like 5:00. And we were sitting there and I pulled up my watch. I was like, oh man, I could look at the history of how many steps I've taken, right? I walked 28 miles from Tuesday to Thursday. Dang. 28 miles. And half of that is carrying furniture.
That's hilarious. Jeez. That doesn't sound fun.
It's awful.
At all. Hey,
that's an extreme CrossFit right there.
Yeah, that's true. I did see, though, you get a pool now. Did you not have a pool before?
Did not. Now we have a pool. Yeah, my kids, of course, I have an 8-year-old and an 11-year-old, and they love it. They've been in it constantly. Yeah, and since we've been here since Friday, and they've been in it 8 hours a day. They're loving it. They're going to love it. It's going to be great for us. We got a bigger house, so a lot more room, bigger pantry, which means my wife spent, $850 at Costco today. Almost broke me. And yeah,
that's not hard to do.
No, it's not. But
it's like, I got macaroni and cheese and a watermelon.
A 10-gallon.
The good news is,
right.
I don't have to move my wood shop. It stays directly next door. My in-laws I got to move them in. So
I was going to say, so you haven't moved them in yet?
No, I'm going to do that in a couple of weeks. I'm going to move them in my old house. But
rest your back for a little bit first.
Yeah. And so it's nice. I'm super glad I get to walk next door and use my shop. It's kind of like a getaway. It's kind of like having a shop in your backyard. So I'm really excited about that. That's going to be cool.
That's sweet. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you're not unpacked though. Like, I mean, you kind of are. Did you even pack up really? Like, I mean, you threw some stuff in boxes, but you just moved everything directly over. You only had to walk at like 1 yard for you.
Yeah, no, we used like 6 boxes total. We just packed stuff up, brought them over here, unpacked it, went back, packed that box up, brought it back. Yeah.
That's awesome though.
That's good stuff.
That sounds
that's
very tiring.
way better than packing up a trailer and truck about 40 times.
Yeah. I got those I don't know what they're called. I don't know, the box is around here somewhere, but you put the straps on around your neck and shoulders, and it's got the single strap that goes from you to somebody else,
Yeah.
And you go under that was a absolute lifesaver. Loved it. That thing was awesome.
Yeah,
I bet. I've never used them, but I saw them and I'm like, those got to be amazing.
Yeah, they're good. Until you get a really small piece of really heavy furniture, then it becomes a lady and tramp, situation where it pulls you real close together.
Right.
Nice. That can be fun. That can also be fun.
We are now closer friends.
Yeah.
That's
so.
Well,
but it was busy, man. Busy week. What y'all got going on?
I started a diet this last week, which is not very fun, but it's been pretty good, I guess. I've lost like 11 pounds, so I feel pretty good. which has
There
been
you go.
great.
Dude.
So yeah.
You just been like doing just water or?
Yeah, well, we've been doing some sort of like intermittent fasting thing. So we're doing like keto and like only eating one meal a day and stuff like that. But I feel great.
I
But
could never do that.
your body gets used to it after like 5 days. Your body's just like, I'm not hungry in the morning. I just have coffee and
Yeah.
water, and that's it.
Right.
That's all I
Well,
have.
that's how I am anyways. Like I don't ever eat breakfast, hardly ever.
Yeah.
I'll just have like especially if I have coffee, then I'm not hungry at all until like lunchtime.
Yeah. So we've been eating like basically low carbs, and we eat at like 4 in the evening, and that's about
Gotcha.
it. That's all we do, and it's been great. I feel a lot better, but it sucks when you like go to a restaurant, and you're like, oh, that burger sounds good. You buy a salad, and you're like, ugh, all right,
Nah.
I'll do it, whatever.
Right.
But hopefully I'll hit a goal weight. I was like 210. Now I'm like 199, 198, and then I want to get down to like 195, 190. That's the goal.
How tall are you?
6'2".
Huh.
Yeah,
I
well,
didn't know you're that tall.
I says 6'2" on my driver's license, but let's be honest here, I'm more like 6'1". But
6'1" and 3/8.
yeah. So yeah, hopefully I can get there and then kind of taper off and enjoy some other food. I had to skip barbecue sauce the other day because barbecue sauce is loaded with sugar, and it was
Yeah.
like I had like so we're at my in-laws' house and he was making like grilled chicken and we were gonna watch the UFC fight last night and. So he was like, I'm making grilled chicken. Everybody's good with this kind of barbecue sauce. And I was like, actually, can you just do ours without barbecue sauce? My wife and I said, and he's like,
Don't you love being that guy
I
too?
know. Well, and that's something.
Actually, I
well, that's
can't
something
eat
so
that.
simple, right? Like you just don't put barbecue.
Right.
But it's just still awkward
Yeah.
to ask, especially he knows how much
Yeah,
I love
exactly.
barbecue. So I was like, no, you can just no barbecue sauce for me. He's like, really? And I was like, yeah, we're gonna try it. So then I just had a chicken salad and stuff. But I gotta get healthier. So
I could never do that. I could never cut out sugar.
It's hard.
Not even
It's
close.
hard.
I'm
Especially
like,
when you-
yeah, I could probably do that. I could quit eating like sweets, but then I start looking at like every single thing I eat and drink is like loaded with
sugar,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, the hardest thing for us right now is like you have to have snacks for your kids. You have to. So it's like no matter what snacks you have in the house, it's crackers or whatever, it has sugar in it.
Yeah.
So it has to be.
It's
in
crazy
your
when you
house.
start
can't just
looking
cut
at
it
that
out.
stuff, like
Oh.
what actually does have sugar in it.
Yeah, everything.
You're like, what? Mustard has sugar? Like,
Everything has
or
sugar.
anything like that. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
But other than that, I didn't really do. I finished up. I didn't even talk about this. I've been doing a outdoor checkerboard, right? So I finished that up this week. I've been editing I was in my office all day today, editing and doing other stuff, and so I finished that up. And it's a project for a sponsor, and so I used basically pavers, and I put them down into. I painted them white and black, and then I put them into a border that I built. Put them down, leveled them all out. Once they're all in, I put fine grit sand or whatever, and put it in all the cracks and crevices, made sure it was all flat and everything. So then after that, I just took. This actually worked out great. So instead of making a bunch of pieces, my father-in-law, all he does is build cornhole boards, and he's made like I think 30 sets since like March. So he makes he does them quite a bit. So he had all these cutoffs of the 6-inch pieces. So I was gonna have to make these checkerboard pieces, and I was like, whoa, do you still have those? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, give them to me. So I already had them, so I didn't have to cut them. So I just put a round over on all of them, and then sanded them down, and then I basically inset a washer on it, and so that had a piece of metal on it, and I painted them, glued the washer on, and then I made a stick with a magnet on the end, so you can just pick them up without bending over, and then put your foot on it and pull it off. So that way it's like an actual
Oh,
weight
good
idea.
around. So I did that. That was fun. So that's finished up. I got to finish taking a picture of it and kind of, doing the finishing touches on the video. But that was pretty much most of my week. So
That's cool. You have the
No,
craziest yard.
With your out. Oh yeah. With your outdoor projects, do you find is it harder to film those than inside your shop, where the lighting and stuff is pretty consistent, or do you like it better?
No, I don't like it better. I mean, my shop's nice because no matter where I go, everything is consistent. Outdoor, it's just when it comes to DIY, I find that like if it's like let's say I'm making a commercial for like let's say I had a client that wanted like a commercial or something, I'd be pretty worried about it. It's like, okay, we got to do this from like 6 to 8 p.m. or whatever when the sun's going down, so it's good lighting. I'd be
golden hour.
Yep, the golden hour. I'd make sure that that's all going on. But when it's DIY and it's YouTube and nobody really cares, they just want to see the process. So I don't worry about it as much as long as my settings are right. Like I'm not going from drastic shade to drastic sun without changing settings.
Right.
I just make sure I'm pretty good. To be honest, the DIY stuff, I don't change the settings a lot. I just put it on auto most of the time because I don't think people care enough. You know, they want to make sure your audio is good. They want to see the process. Don't be skipping steps. They don't care if it's like, oh, you know, this should have been a little less exposure. Like, I don't think they care as much.
Right.
So I don't worry about it. I think it's just another step that would just make me feel more busy. And I just put on auto and just record it.
Yeah, when I go outside, I do one of like the pre-selected things on my camera, like outdoor or whatever, instead of like indoor. I put it on manual and I set the white balance and all that stuff. But I only have to do that once because you're just filming the same shot with the same lighting all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. I was like, I wish that everybody took as much care as we do with our videos. Like a lot of times I'm like, not necessarily in our space. Well, most people in our space actually do a really good job. But when I was researching, because I'm getting back into wanting to build my little Chevy Love truck again, because I'm getting my hands on an LS to put in it. So I was doing some research and just trying to find some videos of like LS swaps and stuff like that, you know. And it's just like, dude, it blew my mind how horrible those videos were. I mean, like
mechanic stuff.
Yeah, any of that stuff. It's like they're trying to do like this garage show, but it's like filmed on a phone that somebody's holding and they're like moving it all around. And they have like 500,000 views on it. I'm like, wow. Because there's no one in that space that really does. There's a few guys that have like actual like, you know, almost good enough to put on TV shows, but they're nothing like specific you want to look for. It just blew my mind. I was like, how do these people, and they have like 100,000 subs and every video is like that. I'm like, how? We put all this effort in. It's just not.
I think the difference too between like us and mechanic stuff is that mechanic stuff is uber specific, right? Like this will only work for this type of vehicle, this type of engine on this specific, you know, whatever transmission.
Right.
And ours is like you get a piece of wood and you got any kind of tool that's like a miter saw. It doesn't matter what brand, it's going to work. And, you know, you can do it 1,000 different ways. And so I think that's probably why is that they don't have to put in the extra effort because what their people go there for isn't like the production value, which for us, it kind of is, right? Like,
I clicked away from 10 videos immediately. I was like, no.
Yeah. But for like, so for woodworking stuff, production value, the people doing it, the way you explain it, the way it's shot, that's a lot more important because that person can look at 7 different other videos right there on the side of YouTube. And if those look better, they're just going to go there because they don't want to deal with that. But if you're looking for something specific mechanic-wise, you're just going to try to figure it out. There's no, you don't care about that stuff, you know?
Yeah, but this was like people that were attempting to make an entertainment channel almost. That's what I was confused about. Like, I understand this is how you put an alternator on a, 95 Chevy Silverado. But these were like almost trying to be like say entertainment and they were just horrible. I'm like, maybe I should get into that. Way less competition. That's hilarious.
Yeah, you'd be an expert on how to lower trucks.
Get out the torch, heat up the spray.
You and your weird obsession.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
What'd you do this
that
week?
was when I was a kid. I didn't do anything the week. I just went to work, but I'm so tired by the time I got home I didn't do much. But the weekend was pretty packed. So I continue on this. I got the tables finished finally and delivered. So that was plus. That's what I did pretty much all day Friday. Good. And then I had to smog my truck. So that was like a few hour thing because I had to replace the oil sensor on it and then had to drive it a certain amount of time.
He doesn't know what smog your truck means because he's not from California.
What the hell is this?
Yep.
What the hell is smog?
See, I know what it means.
Let's
I know what it means, but we don't have to do it here in Utah. So
I forget. So I live in a horrible state, and so you have to. It's just an emissions test. I don't remember what smog is called or stands for.
It's it's an acronym, right?
Yeah, for something.
Yeah, we call it MARTA here.
MARTA. That's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
I have
well,
no clue
I don't know what
it
smog
stands
stands
for,
for. It should start with stupid something. I don't know.
Gotcha. So it's just an
Yeah,
emissions test to get your
exactly.
tags every
Yeah,
year.
and
Okay.
so every 2 years, I believe
That's what ours is
here.
for
Yeah,
our emissions test. It's every
but it's
Oh.
much more strict than anywhere else,
It
as
is.
far as I know.
Yeah.
But anyway, it has to, once you clear the codes and you have to drive it a certain amount of time, and it has to run through its self-diagnostic checks before it'll even be able to go through the test. So I drove it to work and back, which is 30 minutes, but apparently that wasn't long enough. So I took it tables and delivered those, came back, got it smoked, blah, blah, blah. Got on the truck or in the shop, pulled out this vanity I'm staring at behind the computer, and made the doors. Called you on that, Jesse P. Thanks for the help.
No problem.
And so first time doing shaker doors. That was interesting, but pretty easy. And those are all glued up, and it's ready to be painted now. Finally, my buddy Nate is going to paint it because I don't feel like learning how to use my spray gun. I have no desire for that. Hate painting.
Did you get the doors done? 1/2 inch overlap?
Yeah, I
Everything
don't
worked
have
out
the
good?
hinges on them because I didn't order them yet, but they're done and
Gotcha.
they can be painted. I just need to cut out the drawer faces, which will just be slab style. So I got to get the wood for that probably tomorrow and get those cut out. And then once it's painted, I can get this thing installed finally and move on to something else.
Can I ask you something?
Did you just go?
Can I ask you why you hate like painting with a gun, like a spray painting?
Well, I
Because
don't know. I probably would like that actually if I would take the time and do it. But I saw my friend Jesse P try to struggle with this one time, and
I hate it so much. I'm in the same boat.
I hate it too. That's why I was going to ask you why
Yeah.
you personally hate it. Because
I'm terrible.
that's actually
Terrible
why I
at
tried
spraying.
it one time when I was trying to paint the eaves of my house, or the trim on the on the eaves, whatever you call that, fascia board, and I used that home right sprayer. And it says on the thing, apparently everybody loves that thing, but
I like it
for
The
whatever
the
reason.
Earlex one.
No,
That one?
like the cheap one, because I have both.
No.
I have the Ehrlichs as well, but I've never put anything in that one.
Oh,
which
it's
I
fantastic.
should.
It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I'm
It's
sure
a
it
great
is.
spray.
But I was like, I don't want to like mess that one up trying to learn. And everybody's like, yeah, you can spray paint out of the cheap one. I was like, all right. So I did what it said, and dude, it was not. I'm sure it was me, not the sprayer, but it was just like splatter everywhere. It got all over the siding. I was livid, and so I was like, nope, screw this. And so I literally like rolled it all on.
Horror
Yeah.
stories.
I remember your
horror
video
stories.
clips.
God, they were terrible. Even then with that Erlex trying to spray.
Was
paint
that
with
thing
it.
you're having problems with in the spray shelter, and you like kicked it over?
Yes, it was terrible. I hated it. I hated every minute of it. But I don't know anything about it, and I was trying to learn. That's when I called
Chad, probably.
Oh, it's called Chad. Yeah, I called Chad and try to help me out. But man, it's just I got to at some point. I have a good sprayer. That Erlex is a good sprayer. I got to at some point sit down and learn it. I got to sit down and figure out every bit of it. You know, I've got it to work, but it was not something that came natural or easy. The only thing that I've ever in my entire woodworking career gotten to work really good as far as spraying and it was finishes, it was one of those really cheap little
mason
jar crickets. Yeah, the little crickets. I love that thing. Never had a single problem out of one of those things. Love it.
Have you tried to spray finish with the Erlichs or just the paint? Yeah.
Just the paint.
I bet the finish probably
I need to try the
works
finish
fine.
with it. Yeah, I bet it
So
does
I think
too.
finish will probably work better than paint. So I try to spray oil-based paint, which if oil-based paint is the biggest pain in the ass because it's super, super thick. So when I painted the trailer, I tried the Earlex sprayer. It did not go smooth at all. Like I tried, like it clogged up everything immediately as soon as
You
I
didn't
hit.
thin it at all?
No, I did. I still thinned it, and it still didn't work. And I was like, oh, okay. And I put the biggest tip in and all this stuff so that it should work, and it didn't. So then I went to my gray coat because I have an airless sprayer too. So I did my gray coat airless.
I do too.
And that sprayed the oil great. That was like one of the only the Earlax did really good when I sprayed my fence oil. Dude, I don't thin it because it's oil anyway. So it's always, yeah, it's like a stain outdoor sealant, right? So it's just oil based. I just pour it straight in, had the biggest tip on it, and just went through and just sprayed the whole thing, and it was awesome. Works great. But when it came to the oil based paint, it was way too thick, even after thinning it. So then I used the Graco, and the Graco actually worked pretty well. And it was one of dude, I was so nervous about my trailer when I was painting it, because as soon as you spray well, first of all, after you sand it, the like paint I had on there, it was really kind of retro to begin with. Like it was like orange and yellow and ugly. Mm-hmm. But I sanded it, and as soon as you sand it, you scratch it all up. It's like, well, now you have to paint it. So we sanded it, and it was like, well, we have to go through this whole thing. So we did the primer first, oil-based primer, then the oil-based paint, and it actually ended up working out really well. And that was the first time, to be honest, that I was impressed with the Graco airless sprayer. I'm not a big fan. Finish-wise, if you're spraying finish, it's horrible. Like, at least my experience.
Yeah.
It's way too... You can't get a good consistency. Yeah. You'll just get, like, lines. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you got
like
that. It's
spurts or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's weird. Yeah. It's just lines though. Like, and if you do it fast enough, like if you turn it up all the way, mine is a VSP, so you can actually change it like 1 to 10 speed. There's another one that's lower, that's just like 2. But I even if you put on the 10 where it's like full, it's still, you'll see those lines. It's really hard to get a good finish. At least I found with those. Yeah. So
I'm just not patient enough for that stuff. That's why I switched over to like all the oil and wax blend finishes. That and my shop's so small, it's like if I try to clean in here and spray, I guarantee I'll have dust in it.
Well, the biggest thing is you have to do so much prep, right? Like you have to cover everything. You gotta get a good space for it. If you don't have like a shelter, even a shelter, like if you are doing a tabletop or something big, takes forever. Mm-hmm. And then after that, after you're done cleaning it takes another 30 minutes. And you're like, oh gosh, I'm just going to brush it on with a foam brush. I'm just going to go with it. And that's usually what I do with poly. I don't ever spray poly usually. I mean, the tabletops are a little easier because you're spraying down. Right. So the airless sprayer, or even, I mean, the ear Lex, that one's better. But because you spray down, it just sits. There's no running, except on the edges. So I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of sprayers just because I'm not patient enough. I wish I was, but I'm not.
I'm going to try to see, like when I drop it off, I told him I was just going to drop it off on Friday and let him just do it when he can. But if he has time, I want him to like maybe show me how he uses it. And,
is this at least Chad?
No, his name's Nate. He's the Creative Green something. Creative Green. I can't remember the last part, but he lives up here near me.
Cool.
He actually lives in Paradise where they had that big fire.
Oh, yeah, last year.
Yeah. Or 2018.
Was it 2 years ago? It's been that long?
Well, it will be later this year will be 2 years.
Dang,
it was crazy. In like September, I think, or October.
Y'all got some more fires up there right now, right?
I walked out this morning. I'm like, so is it ever going to not be smoky? Because
dude,
it's ridiculous. It looks like it's been overcast for like a week. And I'm like, there's no clouds. It's just smoke.
There's 2 days this week we couldn't see the mountains because of your guys' fires. So thanks, Brandon.
Yeah,
Way to go, dude.
Way to go, Brandon.
Beautiful Utah over here. Right? You guys are making all smoky in California.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah, there was a bunch of big lightning storms, and it just set like, I don't even know how many. I think in our county alone, we had like 28 going at one time. It was insane. And they're not small ones either. They're all pretty big fires. Yeah.
That's crazy. So Jesse, I have that same airless sprayer, and I feel the exact same way with you about it. I can spray paint with it, and now it does get you get a little bit of orange peel with it. I can't quite get all the orange peel out of it, but it does a good job as far as spraying paint. But when it comes to finish, I can't get it right. Yeah. And no. The
airless. I think the airless one.
The
airless one. Yeah, I'm with you.
I have the Graco, like airless one or whatever. And it's the same thing as you. You can't get the lines completely, whatever. But also, I get little drips every now and then on it, and it makes me mad.
Annoying. It's very annoying.
Yeah, but I do like that airless one for paint spraying though. It's great. But I've got to sit down and learn that Earlex one because I think it's actually a good sprayer, and then the fact that I have it in there and don't know how to use it's pretty sad. When I got it to work the last time, my father-in-law, who is a paint contractor, who's done painting his entire life, he came by at the end of that after me trying to figure it out, kicking stuff over, fighting with whatever. He's like, "Oh, well, you got to do this," and he sat down in like 3 seconds. He had it spraying perfectly. I was like, well, I have no idea what you just did.
You're like, it doesn't help me.
Yeah. He's like, well, it was easy. And I was like, it might have been easy for you, but I
So he never actually told you what he did?
Pete thought he did, but he really didn't.
You're like, you caught the fish for me. You didn't teach me how to fish, man.
Right. Or he says something.
But,
I'm gonna adjust the blah blah, and you're like, oh yeah, I knew that.
Yeah.
Don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
I think if the word ever got out that if people would agree to paint the stuff that I build, I would build so much more stuff for people.
Well, that's what the tables
Like,
I
if
just
you-
did. She's
if you
painting
agreed
the
to
base.
paint it yourself. Yeah, see, I would build so many tables
'cause-
for people if they just agreed to
Yeah,
paint.
she didn't want it like just straight white or whatever. She wanted it like whitewashed looking, how
Yeah.
people. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I tried that once. It looked horrible. I'm not an artist. I'm a woodworker.
even if you can get it right, it's hard to get it to. It's so personal
Right.
to people. Like people have their certain expectations of that, and there's so many different layers of that. There's so many different variations that it's hard to get it to what that person
Exactly.
likes. And Pinterest makes it even
man.
harder because you're like, send me a picture of what you want. They'll send you a picture and be 4 pictures, and they all look completely different. You're like, that doesn't
Yeah.
help me at all. So which one of these
Yeah,
four?
I know. They're like this, but with a different color. I'm like, wait, what?
Right.
Yeah, like for me, when people say, "Yeah, I want something distressed," all I do is like go on the corners and lightly sand off like the just on the corners though, like just on trim and
Yeah.
stuff like
Yeah.
that. But then like there's people that want it like where it looks like it's been graffitied. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Where it's just
Right.
like all like it basically almost all gone. And I'm like,
Rolled down a gravel driveway for a mile.
yeah, I was like, oh, that's not really that's not really what I consider distressed. But like I like minorly distressed, where you're like, oh, there's somewhere,
Right.
but like it still looks really good. So yeah,
Yeah. Some people want it beat with a
That's
chain.
exactly. That's exactly.
Dude, some people do that. They'll take chains and smack
Yeah.
tabletops and hammers and whatever else, and then they're like, "Oh, it's great." I'm like, "That looks whatever."
I personally, my style is definitely like cleaner looking stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
feel like
a-
it's really hard to replicate that too. Like even with that stuff,
yeah.
it's like I can tell. Maybe some people can't, but
Yeah.
yeah, like I've never like faked live edge. Like, you know what I mean?
I do
Like,
that all the time.
Do you? See,
Yeah.
and I
I'm
feel
doing
like
it at work
usually,
right now.
I feel like usually you can tell, like if you're just doing it to like exaggerate it, but if you're starting like a perfectly square thing and you're like, I'm gonna live edge this side, is that what you're doing?
Yeah,
Oh, really?
Well,
I'm curious to see
blending
how it
it
turns
in
out.
with an existing live edge.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So okay.
So
Yeah,
like
I'm
kind
curious.
of what we talked about in the last episode when I do a lot of times when I do my live edges, it depends on if I have to do this or not, but if it's just a nice live edge, I'll use like that I think it's called a starfish, actually, that thing I was talking about with the spinning arms of sandpaper.
Oh, yeah.
And you put it in a drill. So if you use that, it really gets into the crevices unless there's like some deep bark inclusions and stuff. I'll just do that. But if I need to blend it in, I'll actually sand it all. So it's like still has the profile, but it's real nice and smooth, and like all the little burrs and everything are sanded down. So it's much easier to blend that way. So I just use the cuts all thing and then kind of make my own profile. It's obviously takes practice, but once I've done it a few times and then I sand it in, it looks pretty good. It's not.
That
it does.
makes
It's
more
not.
sense.
You're not really looking at that anyway. You're mostly just looking at the top of the table. So, I had we had some clients in the other day, and I showed them. They were like, "Oh, we want to cut this off, but we don't want it straight." And I was like, "Well, I can blend that in." And they were like looking at me kind of weird, and I was like, "The table over there has it." And they went, and they're like, "Where?" I'm like, "Right here." And
You're
they're
like,
like, "No
"Exactly."
way!" Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So they're like, "Oh yeah, that'd be awesome."
So if you go from a square edge to you have to make it like blend into a live edge, do you just use the cuts all for that?
to start, I usually start with like it depends
Gotcha.
on what wood it is too. Like at cottonwood's.
Explain what a cuts all is. Just to get
so
somebody
it's like it's sort of like a grinding disc, but it's actually a dish. So it's got like a concave, or however you want to say it, on the front. So it's kind of like a bowed edge, and then it has little they're not carbide, tungsten teeth that stick out like little needle points. And they have different, there's coarse, fine, and medium. I believe there might be even extreme or something like that. But it's basically just a dish that you can shape with for like power carving. Arbortech makes some as well as some other companies, but I like the Cuts All ones best. I've been working with them for a while. I've tried the others, but I think these are best for what I'm doing. So you just put it on like an angle grinder, and you just basically just start taking away material and try to blend it in as best you can. I found that it's good to go real light, like longer light passes and just kind of work it in that way rather than like dig it in real deep and trying to do a bunch at one time. So
yeah,
Gotcha.
I love the cut saw discs. They're awesome. They're fantastic. I have two of them. I have more of the rounded one, right? Like
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, the silver one's a little bit more rounded, and then I have I think it's blue, and it's like a little bit more straight angled. You know, have you seen that one where it's not as?
I think all of mine have the same profile. They're just different grits.
No, mine's the. I have one it's the gray one's pretty thick. The blue one's thinner, and it has a more of a sharp profile.
Oh, wow.
So you can kind of get into different places a little bit better. I love it though; it's fantastic. I've done a lot.
You must have something different than I have.
Yeah,
I just have the
it's a
shaping
cut-saw
dishes.
disc, but I think it's a shaping disc. I mean, it's the same kind of design. You know, it has like the metal spikes on it and the grits on it, and it's cool. I love them. They're great for.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna do a video with them pretty soon. Maybe a couple. But he's sending me some of the burrs also. So they're like cylinder burrs basically. That's like a cutting. It's like the same idea, but it's on a die grinder platform kind of thing. Yeah. But I don't have a 1/4-inch die grinders, but I wanted him to send me the 1/4-inch ones because the size of the bit itself is bigger on the 1/4-inch shank. So I was like, I'm just gonna put that in my router table and hope for the best. We'll see how that works. Or the drill press. I'll probably put it in the drill press. Yeah. And then I'm going to make like a cigar ashtray like those ones we made before, Jesse P. Yeah.
I got to make some more of
I
those.
almost was going to steal your idea, but I was like, I'm going to try to incorporate the cut saw stuff as much as possible. Because that Forstner bit idea is the way to go, really.
Oh, man.
Two at once.
So nice. Two at once, get it done. So basically, what I did, Jesse, I know you kind of.
He's like, "What are you guys talking about?"
I was like, "This is a really cool conversation, everybody."
That's how I feel when you guys start talking about whiskey and barbecue and shit.
No, I do know what you're talking about when it comes to like the actual cigar thing. It's like a circle, and then it has a little concave that you put the cigar on. I know what you're talking about.
Right. It's the cigar rest. Yeah. So basically, what I did was I take two like square blanks, make the bowl out of it, which. I used an monotool bit for that in a pattern bit and made the bowl. But once I had them made, they were both exactly the same size. Then I could put them face to face together, so bowl to bowl together, and clamp them. And then I used a Forstner bit in my drill press to drill down. Yeah, and I did it directly in the center of both of them, so it made a half circle on both of the cigar ashtrays. So as it went down and went all the way through, it made a half circle rest, and then I did it on all four corners.
That's really cool. That's super smart.
It was one of those moments for me where it's like when you struggle with something so long, and then you see someone do something like that, and you're like really mad that you didn't think about it. It was like that. Yeah, it took me so long to do that the first time. I used I don't even remember what I used. I think I used like a nickel and like drew a profile on there, and then just like used the little spindle thing on my drill press of the sanding drum. Oh man, it took me because I think I did 4 of them, and so they were all separate, and so none of them were the same. Oh yeah, it was great.
My
looked really good.
It's definitely
my wife's notorious for that. Like I'm trying to figure out something in the shop, and I'm like doing it, and she'll like come out to give me like a water or something. And she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'll be like, I'm trying to figure this out, but it's not working. I'm trying to do this, but she's like, "Why don't you use that tool thing over there?"
That thing.
And as soon as she's like, you know, and then just like do it this, and she'll like very vaguely like explain, and she has no idea what the tools are or anything, and I'm just like, "Thanks, babe. Just go inside." Like I'm like mad, but at the same time,
right now.
I always feel so dumb, and I'm like thankful. But
as the door shuts to the shop, you're like, "You're totally right."
Yep, every time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that probably happens to all of us.
Yeah,
it definitely happens to me. My girlfriend does that all the time.
Yeah,
she's like, "Why don't you just do this?" I'm like, "Because I don't want to hear your logical explanation."
Exactly. Okay? Yep. I think a lot of the times just like an outside perspective, because you get stuck on something. You're like, "This is how I'm going to do it." This is how I'm gonna do it. And then they just come in from the side. They're like, "Oh, it seems like you're doing it dumb."
It happened to me yesterday on Instagram.
Really?
I was trying to. Yeah. That happens to me all the time. I'm dumb. But so I was trying to do these window seals for work. And so I got all the measurements written down that he had wrote down, but he wrote down that was like the opening for the window seal. And then it was supposed to have an inch more, on that, I don't know, whatever, like a notch. Mm-hmm. So I'm super smart, and I cut him all those sizes that he wrote down. And so now I have no material for the overhangs. And so I have this pile of them. There's like, I don't even know, 12 or something. And then I'm like, well, those are all ruined. That's all garbage material, but they're all different sizes. And so I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to go get more material. And like, I even texted or called him and told him it was for work. And so I called him and he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Whatever. It's fine. And then he didn't even think about it either. And then my buddy Josh from Humble Woodworking Company, he messaged me and was like, well, can't you use what's there for the smaller ones? And I was like, oh my God, I'm so dumb. I would have literally went and bought all new material for all of them instead of like reusing what I could. So I ended up with like 6 of them out of that material that actually worked. So I'm only have to go buy half of it. So
yeah, it's actually one of my favorite things about Instagram. Is I get so many messages of, hey, if you do it this way, don't you think it'll be easier? I'm like, yep, you're right. That is going to be easier. And next time, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you for messaging me.
Yep.
And they're always like, not trying to be mean or rude. And I'm like, no, I appreciate you messaging me because next time I don't have to do it this way anymore. So I'm usually pretty open. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, if I ever need to know anything, I put it on my stories. Within 5 minutes, I have an answer. There's always somebody smarter than me out there, especially when it comes to woodworking.
For me, it's especially if I'm doing any kind of renovation or anything. I mean, you'll even if you don't ask, they'll tell you. Like, why is that tile like that? I don't know,
dude.
It's like putting drywall up in your shop.
You can talk about that. Go ahead, Brandon.
We did.
Did we? I
think we did the first episode.
Dude, I think we did too. Drywall, I've learned there's like 3 things that I won't post about anymore. Drywall, tiles, and those people that do tile are insane.
Oh, I know.
And they do beautiful work and all this stuff. But I'm like, hey, it's
an art, and it's
an art.
Yeah. I was like, it's my house, and like, it's not going to be seen by anybody but me. Like, it's going to be fine. And I want to do it myself. This is part of this channel. Like, I'm learning things.
Right.
And people because you have a big following, they just assume like, oh, don't trust this guy because he's acting like he knows what he's talking about. I was like, dude, I've never acted like I know what I talk about. I just do it, and I just share what I do. But I don't like try to say
people
this is
along
the way
for the ride.
Exactly, and that's how I've always had my channel. And so, but people get all upset about tile, drywall, and then actually painting. If you do like get into like crazy detail, there's people that are insane about painting, and so it's like, God, you got to just like watch what. I just don't go near those things anymore.
Right.
It's like I'm not posting about them. So, but
if you want to really know, just post it on Reddit. And you'll really know.
Oh, dude, I've never even dabbled in it. I was like,
dude, TikTok's pretty bad too.
It's a dumpster fire. It is. But Reddit is a dumpster fire. If you want to really get the comments, put something.
I feel like the people that actually spend time on Reddit have nothing else to do.
Yeah.
Like, no, there's no way they have anything else to do. And they have no idea what they're talking about most of the time. They're just like giving people a hard time.
I never even went on there. And then the first time I went on there, I was like, what is this forums from 2004? Like, what is this,
Yeah.
Like, this is not.
You guys think TikTok's going to get closed down? Or do you guys think that it's going to get bought out?
No, because it's already being basically. So I've been dabbling in stocks as well, and so I listen to stock podcasts, and apparently Walmart and Microsoft are going in it together to buy it, and they say that it's like a pretty much for sure thing that they're going to get it. I mean, it's not a done deal or nothing yet, but yeah, weird. Walmart wants to buy it. It makes
sense if. Well, so it was weird because I saw that the TikTok CEO stepped down, like he quit, right? Which
for like he was only there for like not even a month, I don't think.
Oh, is that right?
Or something like that. That's what somebody said, or I heard.
Know that. Well, that like when I heard that, I heard 2 things. I was like, either it's not going to get bought out, or it is getting bought out, and they're getting rid of him anyway. So he figured, hey, I'm gonna go take another job as soon as I can because I'm not staying here.
Well, there's a bunch of people wanting to buy it.
Well, of course, it's huge.
Yeah.
But as soon as they do, this is what like we were talking to Donnie, Designs by Donnie. he's huge on TikTok. He's got like 500,000 followers. He does great stuff. I mean, first of all, Donnie's been a guy I've looked up to since I found him on Instagram. He does probably the most amazing work.
And he's super nice.
The nicest guy. I love talking to him. He's a great guy. But he's huge on TikTok. And when he's like, I think what he said is correct when he's like, hey, if you're doing TikTok, this next month you should push it super hard, because after this month, when another company buys it out, they're going to change that algorithm. So like you don't get these huge views all the time. It's going to be very similar to Instagram, where it's like they're going to downgrade anything. So it's like, try to hit as much as you can the next month, 2-3 months, and really do it, that's one thing I need to do. I need to keep posting to it, but I did take it off my phone because I still think you know what? I have gotten less spam calls since I took it off my phone. It's only on my iPad now, which you can't call, and now I don't get it anymore. It's
you know
true,
what? I've
though.
been getting something weird is like, I get text messages now from, I don't know if it's from that or whatever, but it'll say like, is this Brandon? We tried to deliver a package to you.
I've got
go to this
lot.
link, blah blah. And I was like, I've never clicked on them, but I get them like every other day.
Dude, I started getting them within like the last week. I've gotten like 3, and I'm like, ugh.
We're so many places. It's like, where did that come from? Who knows?
Yeah,
so many different platforms and apps and this and that. It's like, good luck figuring that out.
Everything asks for your phone number now, Twitter, all that stuff. Is this your phone number? And
verify
you gotta,
it.
verify. But hey, I'll tell you one thing TikTok did do that it could be huge for a lot of people and across multi-platforms, is that they monetize it now
in more than one way.
That TikTok. Yeah, exactly. I signed up for it, and it's not like a huge income thing, but I mean, you get some videos in there that blow up.
Hey, I make like $1
It makes a difference. Okay? Yeah, no, me too. Yeah, it's amazing.
People like my cousin actually texted me the other day. He's like, dude, I didn't realize you were that big on TikTok. It was like 175K or something like that. And he was like, are you making money? And I was like, yeah, I got almost enough to buy like a soda.
That's right.
Yeah. If I keep it up, I can buy that 6-pack without
That's right. Without asking her. You just come home with it. She's like, whoa.
You got to wait 2 months for it.
You're like, this is TikTok beer, baby.
For 30 days after.
This is TikTok beer, baby. You can't say nothing.
Dude, first TikTok video I ever put up, 2.5 million views.
I was looking this morning, and I had one that was like 26 million. Yeah, and that was when it just
crazy.
Was like, and now I can't get more than 10,000 half the time.
I still get a lot. You know, it's funny. The algorithm's really weird because I post, and sometimes it goes immediately, and I get like hundreds of thousands of views or whatever. Or I'll post, and it's like for like a week and a half, it'll only have like 1,000, 4,000 views, whatever it is. And then if I keep posting, one of those videos will like skyrocket, and it'll cause all the ones behind it that just had 1,000 to shoot up. So then those will have like tens or hundreds of thousands of views as well. So most of mine have a lot of views.
That's cool.
I need to continue posting.
Yeah, it depends on what I post. Like if I post some epoxy pour stuff, those always take off almost every time.
I haven't even thought about that. I've been just reposting the ones currently.
The one
epoxy stuff would go crazy on there.
Yeah, I just reposted a lot of my older stuff. The one that went all crazy was like when I put an insert into epoxy. It's like, yeah, that one's the one that did 26 million. And I'm like, and I reposted it after that, like a few months later. It got like 20,000.
Yeah, it's weird how it works.
Yeah.
I should do my gear latching video.
Right?
That goes crazy on Instagram for some reason. People still steal my content. But I should post that on there. I bet you it'll completely flop. But
we never know.
It's funny.
Yeah, and they got another thing too on there now, and I don't know exactly how it works 'cause I'm not in it yet, but it's called like Marketplace. But apparently, talking to Donnie, that's what he's doing really well with, is it like actually connects you with brands, so it's like a broker basically.
You got to have 100,000 followers.
Yeah, you have to have 100,000 followers, and the thing that I don't have right now is apparently you have to have 100,000 video likes within the last 28 days. And I thought it said views, and I was like, oh, that's easy. But then I looked and it says likes. I'm like,
so you got to be pretty big before
Yeah, and I mean, if I would have jumped on it before, or like if I wouldn't have taken a break from it, I probably would have qualified for it already, but it's not there yet.
All right, so questions. We'll go ahead and jump on this one because it might take an extra minute or two because I actually like this question. But rideout_ and the number 7 on Instagram says, what's your favorite thing to build? As in like cutting boards, mallets, tables, etc. Jesse, what's your favorite?
Cutting
Man,
boards.
that's hard. What? Yeah, dude, you know how many cutting boards I've probably made? 4 over the last 4 years.
Yeah,
I don't make
crazy.
them. I don't make them, and I actually have one that's like half finished, and I've had it in there for like a year. I need to finish it because it's supposed to be for me, but of course it gets
Right.
like glued up and everything, and then shoved to the side. So,
Mm-hmm.
no, I think the biggest thing I make is like DIY projects, especially during summer. As soon as I can go outside and there's not snow, I'm usually outside doing stuff. I mean, you look at my feed for the last 2-3 years, I'm working on my backyard doing 1,000 different things. And so that's usually what I focus on.
Yeah.
If you're talking about shop stuff, it's kind of all over the place. I don't do, like, I'm not a huge mass production channel, right? Like, I know, like, Brandon, up till recently, you were just doing client builds like crazy. So you did a lot of tables. You did a lot of, like, different kind of furniture. I don't really do that. I just kind of do a bunch of different stuff. It's kind of hard. I don't really do one thing a lot, except for like DIY stuff, like figuring out stuff that I would enjoy outside that my family can enjoy, like the outdoor theater and like the teeter-totter and the clubhouse for my kids and the pergolas, and that's kind of what I focus on mostly. So that's, yeah, I don't do a ton of shop. Like when I am in the shop, it's a bunch of different stuff, or it's pertaining to for other stuff. Like I've done mission style furniture, bookcases. I've done our dining room table, coffee tables. I do a little bit of live edge, but I'm more of kind of a jack of all trades more than like I do one thing all the time. So,
Right.
But
What's your least favorite thing to build?
for clients, is that a good
Sure.
answer? That's my least favorite thing to
Right.
do is
Yeah.
to build for clients, man. I mean, like, it's fun, and I do enjoy like them seeing it and they liking
Right.
it and stuff.
Satisfaction.
But the stress I put on myself when I build something for a client is like I put myself in a lot of stress because I'm like, it's got to be good, and like, even though it's something small underneath, like if I'm building a table, it's underneath, like
Right.
they're
They'll
never
never
gonna
notice.
never know nothing. It'll stress me out that it's
Yeah.
wrong. So that's one thing I don't like. But
Makes you better though.
it does. Yeah, I mean, it does. I need to focus on my building in the shop more, because there's certain things like I'd like to focus on more little things, more like very very measured, very like particular, precise builds. One thing I really did like was that Delta sign. So I do the Delta YouTube videos, and I made this big giant, it's a 4-foot by 3-foot sign, and I cut out each piece on the bandsaw, and I actually
Yeah, it
made a
looked
frame.
awesome.
Thanks. And it's like a 3D, and it took a lot of time, but everything was pretty much precise. Like I took my time and I built it, and I like extremely enjoyed it. So I think doing more stuff like that, especially when the cold weather hits, is what I'm going to be focusing on, and hopefully kind of dabble more into that kind of stuff and buy more
Finer
hand tools.
woodworking.
Yeah. You know what's funny? I was listening to there's a podcast. Well, there was Donnie. It was the Green Woodworker podcast back in the day, and then he changed it. I forget what the newer name was.
Maker minded.
Maker Minded podcast.
Baker minded.
So I was on there when I had like 2,000 followers, and I was looking up. He was like, "Who do you want to be back?" This was like 3-4 years ago. He was like, "Who do you want to be like eventually?" And I was like, "You know who's really cool is Philip Morley. You know who that is?"
Yeah.
Yeah, who's like this amazing hand tool person. And
Super fine
now looking at it, I'm
woodworking.
like, no, I don't want to be that at
Yeah,
all.
no kidding.
There's no way. I don't have the
Right.
patience for it. He's amazing. I admire him. The stuff he builds is art. It's amazing. I don't want to. I don't want
crazy.
to be that though. I
Yeah.
don't want to spend hours and hours and hours on a drawer. That's just not. That's not my style. That's not what I want to do. To me, I want to get it done. I want it to be functional. I want it to look good. I want to put it in my house so I can enjoy it. You know, that's what I
Yep.
want to do. And so, my mindset as I've progressed has definitely changed. I just want to be kind of a functional DIY, I can build stuff type person. So
Yeah. I'd say you're a step above DIY.
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, I mean, you keep saying all your stuff's DIY.
Well, I
but
do
feel like
DIY 'cause-
you're a little
Yeah.
more advanced than you give yourself credit for.
Well, I appreciate that. No, but I say DIY as in, I think most things that I do, especially video and YouTube wise, other people can do. Like I
Right.
like, like it doesn't take a ton
There's
of
different
tools.
levels of DIY, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think I'm more on that upper level of DIY.
Yeah.
You know, like I would, I'm going to be doing an outdoor kitchen build soon. And I think most people are going to be able to build that if you have, 3-4 tools, and so that's what I consider DIY, even though it's more advanced than like
for sure.
farm
But like that farmhouse, you called it desk that you did with all the dowels.
Oh yeah.
I would not say that's DIY.
No, that one is all half lap joints. There was no screws in it. Yeah, no, that one was a little more complicated. And actually, dude, I forgot about that desk. I mean, I actually think
you had plans for it.
Huh?
You had plans for it and everything.
I don't even know where they are. I have to find it. It's a PDF somewhere. I don't know, man. I gotta find it. I had a bunch of people buy them and on my old website, and I gotta get that up and going again. Dude, I need to be
losing out on money.
I know.
Jesse's got them rolled up in one of those cardboard tubes.
I got a
in the corner of
scroll.
the shop.
It's like a talisman.
Yep.
Yeah. That's all right, Brandon. What's your favorite thing and least favorite thing to build?
My least favorite thing is cabinetry. I can tell you that 1000% right off the bat. I hate it. I hate doing drawers, and I hate doing just it seems so easy. It's like, oh, it's just boxes. But it's like, for whatever reason, every time I do it, and I should just do it more so I get better at it, and then it probably wouldn't be so bad. But I swear, every time I try to figure out how to lay out the cabinet, like this vanity, that's why it's taking me so long. So, because I procrastinated so much, it's just like, once I dive into it and do it, it's fine. But trying to figure out what to do for, like the order of operations, for whatever reason, just I can't wrap my head around it. I don't know why. So that's my least favorite. My favorite slab tables for sure. Just and like I was saying last time, getting into the metal incorporation with wood. I definitely want to do that more, like the industrial-ish style, I guess you could say. Yeah. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite. Yeah. Simpler stuff too. Yeah, I never really do it myself. Like I did that big walnut one, and I did a couple others, but I mean, since I've started working here, I've already done more than I ever have.
Have you?
Yeah, and I mean, they're not done yet, but we're, like I said last time, we're working on like 4 at once. So
that's awesome. What about you, JP?
Well, I did say my favorite thing to build was tables, and I think that's like you. I don't do a lot of client builds, so I don't do a lot of repetitive builds over and over and over again, but I have done a lot of tables because it's the one thing that family and friends need, that come to me and ask me to build, and the one thing I can actually do well. When I started woodworking, I thought, I wanted to get good at everything, but I wanted to also expand what I could do. So, I go to building a table at one point, and then I switch over. I'm like, I'm going to build boxes and figure out how to build jewelry boxes or, catch-all boxes and stuff. So I started building them. And then after that, I'm like, all right, now I'm going to move on to hand-cut dovetails. So I went to hand-cut dovetails. So I don't really stay on a particular project, long enough to master it. I stay there long enough to get good at it. And I'm like, I got this. It's a good skill. Now I want to move on to something else. So tables are probably the one thing that I've done more than anything else. And I do enjoy doing them because they're functional. It's a centerpiece in everybody's home. It's something that everybody loves. They use mostly just to fold laundry on. Yeah. But that's okay. It's good. And I like it. It's funny now as we've just moved in this new house. I don't even have a dining room table anymore. When I moved out of the old house, gave it to the neighbors. It went straight over to their house because they had a big dining room area right in the center. And the dining room table I had in my house before was a big walnut top. Wow. Dining room table that I built. Beautiful. I loved it. But we don't have a dining room in our new house. So
what are you going to do? Do you just have a big counter, like a big island, or? Okay.
Yeah. We have a giant island. Giant seats, like 8 people on this island. So no table. So, they have it now. And I have this really, really nice rustic. I did a table out of Canadian hemlock that's at my sister-in-law's house now. And it's like the centerpiece in their living room. So I'd have to say that's my favorite thing to build, just because, like I said, it's the centerpiece. It's something that people gather around, family gathers around. And I've always enjoyed that and different variations of it. Honestly, I don't think I've ever made the same table twice either.
Yeah.
I always try to do something different, whether it's traditional breadboard ends or no breadboards or, whatever it is, I try to do something completely different. As far as it goes to least favorite things, it has to be anything that I have to paint. I don't want to paint.
Here we go again.
Yeah. I don't have, there isn't that one thing that I dread making in the shop, again, because I don't do that over and over and over again kind of build, but I just don't
You
like
don't
painting,
have
I
to
guess,
do them.
because
And so you
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
clients like, I want this. And you're like, come on.
Right. Right.
That was, I think that
And
added to me not wanting to do it, because I had
Yeah.
people like wanting stuff that I really, really didn't want to do, had zero interest in learning. And so,
Right.
yeah, like now I definitely for sure want to focus on like stuff I don't know how to do, and kind of like direct my channel, like how you're saying, Mullen, like just take people along for the ride. Like I want to go to,
Yeah.
I never really was, I'm not a hand tool guy. Obviously I don't know how to use a hand plane apparently, but,
Don't worry, either do I.
I can use them. I don't know how to set
Like,
them up
I
that
have
great, but I can make
that's,
them work.
Yeah,
But
that's
my
me
buddy
too.
Christian, he lives like where I work. Actually, he lives in the town I work in. He's really good at dovetails and all that stuff. And so I'm gonna probably do a video collab with him. Like I'm basically gonna video like teaching me how to do them, and
cool.
maybe some other stuff too. So I'm looking forward to that, and just like learning other skills and doing things that I want to do rather than have to do.
Yeah.
So,
I think for me, it's that I enjoy building the things that I build, and the finishing part is not exciting to me. It's just not. Like, that's why I like working with natural woods like walnut and stuff, because it's just a simple finish that brings out the grain in that, and it's not staining it. It's not trying to get it to a different color. I love, like, when I finish something, I'm like, that really looks good. I don't care what it's made out of, what kind of wood it's made out of. So, in the painting part of it, I just don't get excited about it. So I think that's more of it than it is like the physical part of painting.
Yeah, my wife paints everything. Like every project I've ever done paint wise.
Nice.
It's like, hey babe, can you paint this? She's like, yeah, that's fine. And she'll just do it. And she does a good job. And I love it. And it's like, I don't have to do it. And it's very annoying to me. And I'll do like the poly and stuff, especially on tabletops. I'll do all that. But like when it comes to like the actual like base, you know, if I'm doing like my dining room table is it's kind of farm style, but it's like not really, like, yeah, it's a hickory top, and so it's gorgeous, and like how I laid out like where the sap is and like the color grain and stuff like that, it's really cool. And I just used armor seal from General Finishes, and I actually love that finish. It's super easy to put on. And so I that's the top, and then the bottom is like a chamfered edge squared legs, but it's painted white, like a kind of a creamish. And she painted that. I was like, you paint it and I'll put the poly on. But I just hate, I hate putting poly on too, but I get particular.
Well, even with super easy to put on finishes like Rubio or any of those, like when I was putting it on like the trestle style bases that I did, trying to get in all those little tiny, dude. By the time I got done with one trestle, I'm like, my hand's cramping, and I'm like, why did I do this again?
Yeah, I find that like the Rubio's amazing on tops, but then when I had to do like the legs for my parents' table, it was not fun.
It seems like you use a lot more too, because you have to soak a rag and like.
Yep, I use more than I did for the top. Like,
for sure.
I was like, ugh, this is annoying. Just because you can't apply it the same. So
it's the same with any finish, really, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway,
next question.
All right, what do y'all think? You want to take another question? All right, let's do one more. I like this question too. It's from Markmans _ Woodshop.
2 weeks in a row.
I'll say he's gonna be our top fan.
Holla.
Yes, I like him. Beginner tool suggestions. So if you had to suggest a beginner woodworker buy a certain tool, what would it be and why?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what they already had at their disposal. But if they had nothing, I don't know how many.
Let's say someone
just
during
one
quarantine was like, "Hey, I'm home all the time. Let's build something. I don't have any tools." What do you tell them, Brandon?
What's your budget?
I mean, I immediately tell people that are like, yeah, I kind of want to build a coffee table. I'm like, okay, get a pocket hole jig, get a circular saw, or a miter saw if you can afford it. But a circular saw is even more diverse because so circular saw and a drill. Like if you can just get those three, and if you want to get more perfect, you can get a biscuit joiner, you can get some other stuff if you want. But those three can get you started pretty much doing any farm style basic 2x4 furniture that at least get you out in the garage building stuff. And that's why I always tell people those three I mean, your furniture is not going to be amazing, but it's going to get you there and it's going to get you started. And that's how I started. I wouldn't sell my like furniture to people if I built
did.
it with just so did I. Looking back now though, I'm like, oh gosh, some of those first ones those people bought.
Sometimes
I
want to go back and be like, so do you want me to build this over again?
Yeah, that's for real. Like there's certain
I
times
won't even
like,
charge you. I just feel bad.
If I knew who it was, right, and if I knew who like I sold some of those to, I'd probably be like, hey, I'll build you a free coffee table. Like
Right.
I'll
But
do
then
it.
again, I would never build a coffee table for what I sold it for.
Oh, I know. That's right. And
Yeah.
now it's like, yeah, you'd have to pay a lot more, but
right.
I'll repay something. So,
Yeah.
but
There's always a lot of shade thrown towards pocket hole jigs, but
I just
feel
used them
like it
earlier.
is one of the most. Yeah, I use them. I use them all the time. But I mean,
Foreman, I love it.
Yeah, that's what I was using earlier, and I was so
that's-
glad I had it because I had to do 18 slats in this
Yep.
bottom shelf, and I put 2 in each end. So, oh, yeah.
people
it was a
crap on 'em,
lifesaver.
and I've crapped on them before when I didn't know what was going on. And I thought it was that. Like I remember I had a table that was just after like a year and a half, it was just splitting like crazy and it was all this stuff. But it's because of the type of wood I was using. It wasn't the pocket holes. You know, it was the wood was just jacking everything up because it was green and it was 2x4s and it was 2x6s and that's what it was. It wasn't the pocket hole jig. But I mean that was like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like now I'm like, oh, I know exactly what that was. I didn't
I have the
dry enough wood.
perfect. I have the perfect response for anybody that talks crap about them. They're like, "Oh, pocket holes are that's stupid." I said, "You know what? Go to a cabinet shop. Tell me what you see."
Yeah, well, that's all they do,
Yeah.
right? Like for any cabinets.
I mean, they call them castle joint, or not castle joints, but castle holes or castle machines, but they're square pocket holes. That's all they are, and that's how pretty much every cabinet in a cabinet shop setting is put together.
Well, it's like any other joint. Just you got to research where to use it,
Right,
how to use it, and and the applications that it's best used for, and then use it. And it's the easiest joint for anybody getting into woodworking to be able to use universally, and then kind of get the bug from there. I mean, I started with pocket hole jigs and then ended up with hand cut dovetails. So
Just depends on
gotta
what
go
you're
from
trying to
somewhere.
build, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got to go from one point to another, and I love them. They have their place in woodworking just like anything else. I don't understand the end all be all woodworkers where, it's like you're not allowed to do that unless you do it this way. Look, I completely understand that woodworking is an art. I completely understand that that you take pride in what we do, but you also have to pass this on, and you also have to get people interested that might not be interested in doing mortise and tenons and stuff like that. And this is about building furniture to the likes of you and what you like and what best fits you
Or your client
and what gets
base.
people started. So yeah, exactly.
I found out a lot though, like the guys that are like that and super against all that stuff. Most of those guys aren't selling their stuff. They're doing it as a hobby or they're teaching it or, some are like, all those, like the Maloof rocker obviously sells those and they're amazing, but those are pretty few and far between. Somebody that's actually full time making their living off of super fine furniture. Not a lot of people have the money to buy a $30,000 piece of furniture. So it's like, just use what you need for your shop and your needs and your clients' needs.
Yeah.
So to digress a little bit, one of the other things that I would say, since we already said pocket hole jig, and I know we got off on that a little bit,
Tangents.
But Brandon actually put me on this tool, and never in a million years thought I would like it this much. But a track saw, I got that Makita. It's a Makita track saw, and holy moly, is that thing extremely useful in the shop, especially if you're working on a bunch of plywood or anything. I mean, you could almost, as a beginner woodworker, substitute a table saw for most projects. You beginner level projects. Man, that thing has been such a good tool in my shop. I've loved it ever since I got it.
I'm jealous. Like I don't have one. I want one. They're just expensive.
Have you ever used one?
I have not. Yeah,
Well,
I've never used it.
or you'll go buy one the
I
next
know.
day.
Well, I think that's the same thing with like the domino. Like I've wanted a domino for a while, but I'm not spending the money because I don't.
You know
know
what's
if I'll
funny?
use
I
it
finally
enough.
bought a domino and I didn't even use it for like 2 months.
Yeah,
Really?
Well,
but when
it's
you
more
need
specific.
it pays for itself immediately.
Yeah.
Right. And Jesse, I got my track saw at this place is called the Yard Sale. It's a store here in our town.
It's the weirdest thing ever.
They
He
get
told me
stuff
this story.
It is. It really is. Yeah. And
His neighbor owns
but they
it,
get,
obviously.
I guess,
Right.
He's
I know
best
the
friends.
owner. We're neighbors.
The owner was over here last night. We were having dinner.
but I guess they buy truckloads of stuff on like a tractor trailer Rex or something. They'll just buy the whole truck and then they just put it in there to sell it. So they have the most random things. But I found a Makita Track Saw in there and they sold it. It was brand new. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It was a corded track saw for like $200.
That's nice. Yeah.
And I had to buy the track, online or whatever. So I just, jumped on Amazon and bought it, but it was a good deal. And man, I've been happy with that thing.
I know I'll be happy with it. It's just pulling the trigger on it,
Right.
Every time I'm like, oh man, I could really use a new computer. Or hey, I could really use whatever. And it always ends up going to something else because I don't need it at that specific point. But then when I do need it, I'm like, crap. I wish I had this and I wasn't freaking running my, 4 foot by 8 foot sheets of white oak plywood that are expensive as crap through my table saw. I wish I could just set them up and run a track saw.
Yeah.
It just,
Yeah.
So
it's amazing.
I need to buy one, but
yeah, I love my Makita one. It's the cordless one, which makes it really nice. I can go outside and cut without dragging a cord around and stuff. But we did get the TS75, the bigger festival track saw at work. I finally talked him into buying that because we're doing all that slab stuff and it cuts just shy of 3 inches thick. And so, it's a beast. But that thing is like the Makita is cool, but it'll like bog down in like 8/4 tops and stuff. And I actually had one of my tops at work because I ran it through the wide belt and then I cut the ends off with that thing. That was the first time I used it. And it was like, what was that? I didn't even flinch. And so I cut slabs with it the other day and it's just, dude, that thing is a beast.
that's cool.
It is corded though, but it's still awesome.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, anyway, I think that was thanks for listening, everybody. That was a good, what are we at? Hour and around an hour. So
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we didn't go extra long this podcast.
Try to keep around an hour. For any of you guys
usually
listening and you want to see the things we're doing on camera, there's a YouTube channel. I don't know if we actually announced that or not.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So you can
Okay.
see us on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, all the above. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Now go out and build something.
See you guys later.
See y'all.